Be'ez Hashem Parshas Vayikra, Tavshin Pei Daled. Previous shir, we were discussing the topic of expectations. That one of the main blockages, the main reasons why people are struggling to be happy is because we have very high expectations, and then when it doesn't turn into results, we don't actually get to see it, to get to those goals that we imagined, that we dreamt of. A person is sad. So if a person lowers their expectations, they could be much happier. We spoke about that's not even realistic, the expectations that a person has, because many times it's something that it's fantasy. But if a person understands that Rebbeinu Shalom is helping them and is constantly doing what's best, and is not having high expectations, they could much easier be b'simcha. Now let's try to analyze the differences between someone that lowers their expectations because of practicality, meaning the life experience. They're older, they figured out that if they lower their expectations, they're happier people. So they just don't care. They keep on telling themselves, it makes no difference. And someone that lowers their expectations because they're trying to serve Hashem with their lowering their expectations. Now both are important. Meaning that if a person lowers their expectations, just practically, they have their life experience, life wisdom, and they chap that it doesn't make any sense. Let me just enjoy what I have. That's also beautiful, because first of all, it's going to turn a person into living into reality. He's going to live in reality. The person is going to be a happier person. Automatically, a person will be doing their job better. So even if a person lowers their expectations because they figured it out, that it's just practical, it's better to live like that, it's still better. But a person has to know that if you lower your expectations and you try to do it as a form of how to serve Hashem, there are many differences. So if a person realizes it and senses the reason why they lower their expectations, they could it means they could do it on a much better level. So number one, a person that doesn't have expectations, let's say about if they're going to be successful in business, they're saying, I don't have to strike it rich. I don't have to be at the top. I'm not in a contest with anybody. I don't have to win the game. If I have what I need to, even if it's a little bit tight, it's also good. Okay, that's beautiful, first of all, because many people are not there. They could really work on themselves to get there. But imagine if a person is trying to think those same thoughts, but with Hashem, meaning that I'm not in charge. Hashem is the one that's deciding how much money I make. So whatever Hashem's plan for me is, I'm fine with it. Imagine, the person thinks like that. So the number one difference is that every time that thought passes the mind, they're mekayem a mitzvah. Versus if a person just practically says, I don't know if it's better to be rich, and then you have the problems of the rich. So I don't have to be there. The grass is always green on the other side. I'm good at this side. So it's almost the same in the first level of it. But here you're mekayem a mitzvah, and here not. Now, times it, how many times a day a person comes across that. So that's a very simple difference. Here you're mekayem a mitzvah, and here you're not being mekayem a mitzvah. But it's much deeper than that. And that is because the real thought process when you are thinking about the situation practically versus if you're thinking about the situation the way the Torah wants you to think about it, it's not the same. Not the same machshava. So if a person is more accurate, then they are going to be more besimcha. And they're going to be mekayim the mitzvah better. And more than that, and that's what we're trying to get to, being that those thoughts constantly repeat themselves in a person's mind. So what's going to happen is that if a person is thinking thousands of times something that's close to the truth versus a person that's thinking thousands of times the truth, the person becomes a good person, a better person, close to Hashem. It transforms the person. So it's very important to speak about those differences. And again, I'm stressing that even if a person only does the first daraga, it's still much, much better than living in a dream, because you're practical, you're in reality. Now, so let's a little bit analyze it. A person that's fine with their situation, they don't know why. They're optimistic. They don't care. I don't care. It's good. Anything is good for me. That person is not investing in the relationship with Hashem.
Like self-preservation.
Self-preservation?
Trying to stop themselves from getting hurt.
Right. So it's like a mechanism of a coping mechanism. So that there's levels in it. There's a person that's not really there, but they just say, "I don't care." You know that child that after, I don't know. You think I care? I don't care. So there are many people that are there, but let's say a person was born with he has an easygoing nature, and he developed it a little bit more. That he developed it that he doesn't really care. He stopped caring so much about it. I think we mentioned it. A person told me the other day, I don't fight with a taxi driver on a price, no matter what. So, been there, figured it out already. Not going to make me rich. That means it could be a practical decision, not to waste energy, time, frustration. But the concept is that a person is not forming a relationship because Hashem is not part of the picture. It's more about, like we called it, it's a coping mechanism. It's a way how to stay comfortable, happier. So it's a better life. I like to live this life. Versus what happens when a person is accepting their matziv. They're lowering their expectations because they're thinking about Hashem. So what are you thinking about Hashem? What exactly are you thinking about? That means it's forcing the person to think Hashem knows what's better for me. Oh, so when you did that, when you thought about that machshava, it's not only the mitzvah, you're reminding yourself the most important thoughts that a person is supposed to be living in their subconscious. You're building a true fundamental subconscious al pi Torah. That I thought, because I was immature, because I was young, so I was looking that I want to have that type of life, and I had an image, but Hashem knows so much better than me. Hashem created the person. Hashem created me. Hashem knows what's best for me. So there's mahalchim of humbleness, of anova, that's slowly making its way as part of the person's essence. Slowly, again and again and again. Then you have machshavah's thought process of thanking Hashem. Because what happens is that if a person has expectations, so they can't really thank Hashem because they're waiting. You didn't deliver. If it happens, I'm going to thank Hashem. But I'm not there yet. So they're running a different type of relationship. There's frustration. And so, what does a person think when they lower their expectations? They're saying like this: I'm not ro'ui, I'm not really worthy of Hashem should do whatever Hashem did already with me. I'm so full of hidoah, gratitude towards Hashem. And Baruch Hashem, if Hashem is going to give more, I don't even know what I'm going to think. So look what's happening to the person. They're forming a relationship of Hakaras HaTov. They're recognizing the good. They feel that they want to do something. They want to give something back to Hashem. Now, we know that the Chovis Alvovis, not in Shara Bitochim, but Chovis Alvovis as a whole, as the Sefer, teaches us that the main push that pushes a person in a healthy way to serve Hashem is that a person feels the gratitude towards Hashem, and they feel, what could I give back? Mo oshiv loch ki hakoil shaloch. You gave me so much. So look what happens. Look what happens to a person if a person is repeating the right mahalchei machshavot while they're busy lowering their expectations. And many, many more. There's like branches of true, good machshavos that are coming out when a person is lowering the expectations for a good reason. We just mentioned anova and thanking and hakoras hatov, which are basics. But then, of course, we have emunah and bitochen. That means a person understands that everything is orchestrated from above. That's Hashgacha Pratis, that's remembering Hashem is running my world. A person could lower their expectations, and a person could know that everything is from above. It's kamat. It could be almost the same, but it's so far. Sometimes you could have it when a person is expecting the children to turn out the way they wanted. So it's a big avoida, not an easy job for a person to like go to the other side. This is what Hashem gave me. This is Hashem's plan. But then you have people out there that they're fine. They lower their expectations. He davens sometimes, also good. Sometimes it comes from a place that they don't really care. You have such people. They, in the first place, didn't care so much. And having a good time, they didn't take that achrayas or that. They don't care. So they lower their expectations. They're saying, this tzaddik had such a I'm fine, I'm good, Baruch Hashem. But then, it can't even work practically for a person that wants to be zoiche, to have doiris. He can lower his expectations. But if a person goes in Hashgacha Pratis, so it's something high, it's a bigger story than just me and my child. There's neshamas here. There's a journey that this neshama has to go through. It doesn't make any sense, because if you look at the children that a person has, all children were in the same house. They had total different journeys in life and different nisyonis that they had to go through. What do I know? So it's so different. So it brings to us that not only a person has to strengthen their emunah in a very, very deep place, and then let's go to bitochen. Trusting in Hashem. Person that lowers their expectations when stam, what happens is they're not trusting in Hashem. There's nothing. Hashem is not part of this picture. It's all about. It's good. How you doing? Fine. How is life? Great. If a person wants a different mahalach, the person is saying, Baruch Hashem, I trust Hashem that this is what's best for me. And I trust Hashem that Hashem is gonna, Me'et Hashem, help me further, because I'm in Hashem's hands. So that's first we said there's a mitzvah, that's one difference. The second big topic was that it's not the same thought process. The thought process of the real mahalach is going to integrate, it's going to change the person to be a Erlich Yid in many, many areas in Avodas Hashem.
And with the second mahalach, you can live your life with enthusiasm, with chiyus, because you know this is the life Hashem wants you to live.
We didn't get to that yet. Number 3. Number three, we just mentioned a little bit now, but let's understand it as something separate. Let's have clarity. When someone is living the life of lowering their expectations just because they're easygoing, let's call it, you will only be able to do it with the person in certain areas. But in the sensitive areas in life, every person somewhere else ain't going to work. Because a person is not really working on themselves. So there are areas where they have expectations. Every person. The most easygoing person, because it's part of life. It's part of the essence of life. Because the person gets up in the morning, they're getting up for a reason. If not, they would stay in bed. They're getting up in the morning. If they're normal people, they have a job, they have still a life. If they have a life, they have expectations somehow, somewhere. Just it's sometimes hidden. It's in different areas where sometimes it's nurture, it's nature, it depends on their environment, but they have expectations. So you see these easygoing people, they tell you, what do you care? And leave go. Because he is not struggling in this area. But you'll go to his sensitive point. This easygoing, you'll see how the person blows up or whatever it is. So you have to understand, if a person is working on themselves and they're lowering their expectations because of emunah, because of bitochen, so it's not easy. They're fighting. They had a good day. They had a day that it could have been better, but they learn to implement it even when it's tough, and then they could be really happy. Because then, even when tough situations, when things happen, whatever it is, they worked on themselves. It's not just because they're easygoing. It's a huge difference. So that's why it's so important that a person should tell themselves the right machshavas. Listen, people say the world is not perfect. Stop it. You're not fixing the world, okay? Just get yourself busy with something. These are not the right sentences to say. Even though it has practicality, it's emes. But it's not going to build. There are many people that they grew up in houses where their parents always spoke like that. Don't care, don't care. They kept on saying such sentences. It doesn't build a person to be be'emes happy. It teaches a person how to just be easygoing. And many times the be'emes has a downside. That's something else that we have to speak about. If a person just learns to be easygoing, we're going to get there soon. But that was the third chiluk, that the sensitive areas, that a person that works on themselves, they can implement it even where it's very hard. Now, let's discuss what you spoke about. When a person is alive, a person has to have expectations. Let's turn that around now. Because if a person doesn't have any expectations, they also don't have simcha. They maybe lower the volume of depression. Why? Because in the first place, they didn't think that they're going to make it. So they weren't devastated when they didn't. But they also won't have that thrill of making it. Now the tachlis is that a person should be alive, excited. A person that everything is good, everything is easygoing, they don't get excited. Which means a person is supposed to get mamish thrilled and excited. Now that only comes when a person does have yearning. They have a goal. They're in the middle of working on something. They're chalshing to get to somewhere in life, and Hashem helps, and they really get there. So they get excited. They get happy. In business, some of it is true. It might be abused because many people didn't really study thoroughly Chovos Halvavos, but you'll have a business owner that talking to his workers, to his employers, he would constantly get them to work. It means after a few months or years, he feels the Olam is not be'emes working as much as they could. They're not giving out their potential. So what do? they create goals many times in different ways. Push it. It means you have to do 5 tikim today. You have to cover ground. You have to make this amount of money until the end of the month. Certain ma'alchim of how it's presented doesn't contradict with Chavis Avovis. It's just that it's chaval that sometimes the people that say it very, very shallow and kilu that you are in charge and you could make it happen. That's not true. But a person is supposed to set goals, and that gets a person to move. It gets a person to work hard. But more than that, it gets a person that they reach their goal, they have a simcha. So this is what we have to understand. We know that Ezu Osher Sameach B'Chelkoi. A person can only be excited if they're happy. It goes both ways. It also goes like Ezu Sameach Osher B'Chelkoi. No, it really works that way as well. That means who's excited? Someone that's satisfied with their share, with what they have. So, after speaking about Stam, the difference is we're presenting a question. It's not so simple to just say lower your expectations. In the same time, when you're lowering your expectations, everything is good. It's like how do they say? Noch gelosen. There's a word when a person just doesn't care. I forgot. No. It's a type of a person that left go of their obligations. It's not a person. A person's supposed to be. They meet their goals. They have goals. It's something in the essence which is, if you do it the right way, it builds a person healthy. And if a person has high expectations and they get it, they really bring out very, very deep koiches. So the answer is that first of all, and second of all, the person is supposed to create goals that are, first of all, the true goals in life. The true goals. And then they also have to be realistic about their goals. Many people say, make realistic goals. But before that, we need to understand a person has to create the goals that Hashem wants you to create. And let's understand what that means. A person has to be able to ask themselves the question, and we're now inching into very broad topics in Yiddishkeit. A person that doesn't know why they're here for. Why are you alive? What are you doing? Why are you learning Torah? If they can't answer with a clarity to themselves, mainly to themselves. So there's something besides that they're missing knowledge or whatever it is. In the topic of Simcha and the opposite, something is broken. Something is broken there because it must be that they have goals. Because if not, they wouldn't get up in the morning. If they're not saying the right ones, they're saying the wrong ones. And if that's the case, then once again, besides everything else, they're going to be devastated in life. They're going to be devastated. Now let's discuss it. Let's say you have a younger man, he learned in yeshiva, he got married, and he's learning in Koil. Year after he's learning in Koil. So someone asks him, can I interview you? Yeah, no problem. Okay, what's your plan? He says, I want to stay in Koil the whole life. Beautiful. Okay. Why? So he starts saying about the Torah is the true best thing, and that everybody's alive, and he's talking about everything. The Torah, the Talmud Torah, connected to Kulam. Oh, that's amazing. And what's going to happen if you're going to have to at some time leave the Koil? For financially, you're going to have a family. I don't like to talk about unrealistic questions. I'm staying in Koil the whole life. Now, isn't it beautiful? Now, this person has 2 mistakes, not 1 mistake. One mistake is not realistic, but that's not the main mistake. That's Okay, he's young. The other mistake is, and who told you that's what Hashem wants? When Hashem is going to create a situation that Hashem might decide to take you out of koil, again, it's a beautiful thing if a person could learn their whole life. It's beautiful. But we're asking a question. If Hashem decides to help the person grow and give the person challenges in a good way, okay? He has a large family, whatever it is, and Hashem wants him to learn and also do other things. What is that person going to feel like? The answer is he's going to fight it tooth and nail. Why? Because for 10 years the person is living that's called making it in life. What's called making it? Quote unquote something. It means a external situation, a matzav that I'm in koil. That's called making it. If Hashem's plan is going to be different, it's going to be devastated. Fight it and not, it's going to be devastated. Hashem never said in the Torah you have to stay in koil. It's a beautiful, but you want it should turn out that way. It's gorgeous. I'm happy that you don't want to be a baseball player. It's nice, but you don't know what Hashem. It says in the Torah very clear that that's not a goal that a person could point a finger. A person, that this is what the Sfarim are busy explaining to us, and that's why it's so important to have more clarity. What Hashem does want that should happen is that you should be refined to the extent that the Shechina, divine presence, should be able to be shoyre, should be able to rest upon you. That's the goal. That's the goal for every Yid. That's your goal. Now there are instructions in the Torah how that happens, and it's made up of a few parts. That means the midas of a person. He has to be a fine person. He has to have rachmanos on other people, because that's what Hashem does, and you're creating yourself to be a vessel that the Shechina could rest upon you. A person that washes his mouth and eyes, a person that learns Torah, a person that helps others together, that's what happens to the person. Now, in order that should happen, a person has to be a humble person. It's a must, because the main blockage that this shouldn't be able to happen is when a person is a balgaiva. When a person feels that they're the best treat for humanity, that's the main blockage. Now, a person that has a rotzah and he wanted one way, Hashem wanted a different way, and he says, okay, no problem, I'm here to serve Hashem. Hashem wanted learning. Now Hashem wants us to do something else, I'll do something else. Then they could also get into the details in life. The details in life, that when they make a bracha, it's happening. Because they're thinking about Hashem. And while they're talking about Hashem, it's happening. Right now it's happening. When a person is zoiche to put on tefillin, they get very excited because it's in the middle of happening. Anything that they do, if they disconnected, they got busy with something, or they got upset, they could always come back, because in any given situation, you always have the opportunity to think about Hashem, to thank Hashem, to realize your place in life, to make yourself worthy that Hashem should rest upon you. You could always do it in any of the mitzvahs, in any situation you are. You could always reset. When a person has that clarity, then a person, what happens is that a person knows the end goal. On the way to get to that, there's a lot of how do they call it? They have there's goals in between. That means little goals, tachanot. There's little stations. That means you have to get to A, and from A to B, from B to C. Intermediate goals, because you need every person in Bachlan, the topic of goals. That's how it works. You know what the idea is, and then you have intermediate goals, because that's how you know. Oh, I got to another step. Beautiful. You have to be able to be excited with small little successes. That's what gives you the mood that you're going. It gives you the simcha. It gives you the excitement to continue trucking, to go on, even when it gets hard. But back to what we was discussing. So a person needs to have goals. What's happening is that a person, instead of having goals, how they want their life to look, in areas where they have zero control on, where they're definitely going to be devastated, and even if it's in ruchnisdige goals, in areas that we don't have control on, we're in Hashem's hands. So a person, he wanted, but then he tells himself, yeah, but I don't know. Of course I had a rotzen, but I don't know. What's Hashem's plan for me? So they drop the plans to teach Hashem what I want. Can I put it in my order? So Hashem says, it's pre-planned. No, could I please change it? So you're fighting the system. So it's in Gashmius, it's in Ruchnius, but in self-growth, when it comes to growing, so a person has to have clarity. This is what I want to happen. This is what needs to happen. So when I learn Torah, it's happening. When I daven, it's happening. When I don't, I feel like I'm not meeting these goals, so I have to go back. And do a chesed with someone. You'll feel how it's happening. Now the good news is that a person starts to feel that he's close, that he's forming a relationship. So a person is setting goals, but instead of setting those goals, they're setting goals in avodah. They're setting goals in avodah, meaning the true avodah, the avodah that that's what a person's supposed to do. Now, if a person wanted to learn now, and instead they had to help someone, and nobody else was able to do it, so once again, if their goal is to finish this Masechta, they might be a little bit sad. If their goal is to do the Ratzon Hashem, and what should happen is Shechina should rest upon me, then they're happy. They Baruch Hashem, today I did what I was supposed to do, what I wanted to do. Now, of course, a person could make goals to try to finish a Masechta, to try to do, but they do it with Hashem. They know Hashem has to help them. And without Hashem, they're not going to get anywhere. But it's avoided the goals instead of expectations of how their life should look. So that's a huge chiluk. That's a very, very big difference between that expectations about what happens to me, I don't know. But what I want to get to, I know where I'm heading. And I'm investing towards, a person is going to see that if they daven, Hashem should give them siyata d'shmaya, bolitar and messiah, slowly they're going to have the siyata d'shmaya, and they're going to get there. Because if they do it the right way, they do it together with tefillah, they do it together with trusting in Hashem, that I know I need Hashem's help, Hashem is going to help them. Because Hashem wants to help, because it's not a suffix. If a person is going to set up goals on avodah with Hashem, meaning a person is going to, first of all, remember that they have to daven. A person is going to also remember that they have to take small kabbalas upon themselves. Just the other day, a person left a message. He said, I always used to take big kabbalas upon myself. First time, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I decided to take something small. He says, in all my years, there was always that day that I had a bad day. That's the day that every single Kabbalah flew away. That was the end of it. Don't bother me now. I'm upset. I'm down. Every single Kabbalah. Now, he said, it's the first time in my life that they came, but I felt like a malach, like an angel is holding me. He's not letting me be over on my Kabbalah, because it was small enough that it became part of me. I couldn't. Small enough. So a person remembers he has to daven. A person is taking small Kabbalahs upon themselves. A person is constantly thinking, what does Hashem want? Not what do I want? What does Hashem want? They're thinking that mahalach. Number 4, they're remembering that if Hashem is not going to help them, it's not going to work, for sure not. When a person has this recipe, that means they're remembering that, then Hashem is going to help them, because one of the big yisodas of bitachon is bolitar Messiah Noisa. Hashem is definitely going to help them. Now, what does it mean Hashem is going to help them? Hashem is going to give them that siyata d'shmaya. They're going to feel that they're inching up. And they're going to feel that the goal, what they want, is happening, because they don't want something specific. They want to do Hashem's rotzen. And they're going to feel that it's happening. That's a very moedige simcha. It's a very, very big simcha. And any bump on the way, and there will be bumps on the way, big ones, they're going to talk to Hashem because they're in the middle of a relationship. They're not in the middle of trying to make something happen. Imagine that a person has a goal that the business should be booming, but they're also married, happens to be. So in the crunch time, whenever it is, they know it's on the expense of the relationship with the spouse, but they can't help it. Why? Because I gotta do it. I gotta get it done. This is the time of the year. A person should chap. If they have specific goals that they want, even if it's in avodas ruchnius, but they're not in the middle of making relationships with Hashem, it's on the expense of the relationship with Hashem. It's crunch time. I got a review now. There's no davening. Hashem, next week, met Hashem. Now I have a test. That's what happens. It's on the cheshbon. Rather, if a person has a goal in the relationship. So now, Hashem wants that. That's what I'm investing in. That's exactly what I'm investing in. Here it's being Mekal Yisurim Be'ahava. Here it's Emunah. Here it's thanking. And then when they have these bumps, and they have to be open with Hashem and say, I'm embarrassed, but this is what happened. What do we do now? They're strengthening their relationship. It's becoming stronger because tshuva and open talk with Hashem is something that's just building it. Versus when a person is not busy with Hashem, they're just busy with their own. So now they're like, let's make believe it didn't happen. Let's not talk about it. Okay, I'm Bam as a successful guy. You know, I know. So like, why are we playing this game? You're not. A person doesn't get built. So that's why this the way that really builds the person is when a person figures out how to lower their expectations from the real mahalach. But for the beginning stages, a person has to learn to lower their expectations even practically, because that helps a person understand that it's a pain if a person is imagining and dreaming things that won't even be able to, it's not even possible it should happen. And that helps a person be besimcha. Okay.